vehicle is leaving the station, please hold on. Please move to the center of the vehicle and away from the doors.
Welcome to the No Wheat Geek show. It is I, the NWG. I'm here with Silver, special guest. Hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing, NWG?
Doing pretty good. Hopefully, you've had a good week. You've had a couple of days, or at least a day, to simmer on the Kenobi finale. How you feeling?
Oh boy, that was a really good finale, honestly. It was action packed, but there was just so much what is the word for it? Like nostalgia with it from Obi-Wan and Anakin's lightsaber fight. Well, I guess Vader, their conversation, all the way up until the very end when we got to see the return of a fan favorite Jedi that's not been on the big screen and since episode 1.
So I can say that you and I have different takes on this. I think you are more positive than I am, but I will say this much, and we will get into it, I promise. I will say this much, that Disney Star Wars, for the first time ever, of all time, since it started, brought actual emotion to me. Like I actually, I hate to admit this, but I did tear up a little bit. And maybe not in the part that you expect. I think you got emotional too, maybe, but in a different part. We kind of talked about this before, and we will get to all of that. Let's start by saying, as we go through this, and we're going to chat live for about an hour. I should also say that anybody that leaves a comment during this live stream, we will see it and display it, as long as you play nice. And also, you are welcome to give us your opinion and tell us what you thought of the series. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Which was it? We're very excited to know what your feelings were on the Kenobi show. I do want to pull up a screen. I didn't mean to get rid of you there. So we're going to go through some of the frames of the finale and talk about it. So we will say, spoiler warning, if you have not watched the series finale of Kenobi, then maybe tune out, bookmark this, and come back to it. And then leave your comment at any time to let us know whether you agree with us or disagree with us. Let me start by saying, when this show first started, what was your level of expectation? And then do you feel like it met that level of expectation for you throughout the series?
So my level of expectation, and really almost with any show I watch, but especially Star Wars in particular, is I try to always go into it open-minded. Now, of course, you hear the things that get uncovered leading up to the show that they talked about, like new characters and etc. But I had a lot of excitement for this. We had Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hayden Christensen was, he was Anakin in some scenes, but he was also in the Darth Vader suit as well. We even had, I don't remember his name, the actor returned to play Bail Organa. But, we also had some new characters as well, with Reva, the third sister, a young Princess Leia, young Luke. But overall, I was very curious how they would go about this show because, Obi-Wan's in hiding on Tatooine. Like, he was in hiding for, it was like 19, almost 20 years between episodes 3 and 4. And I know some of the books have said some of the things that he did out there. So I wondered if they may go a little bit of the route of the books. But either way, I was mostly excited about it because I've actually been a big supporter of Obi-Wan Kenobi getting his own show. And we finally got it. So, yeah, my hype was pretty high just about that alone.
We do have a shout out from Paul George.
Hey,
Hello,
how are you,
George.
Paul? Good to see you. Welcome to the live stream.
Welcome to the stream. So I felt a little bit different. So I am not the biggest fan of the Disney sequel trilogy. I thought Rogue One was pretty good. Han Solo or Solo. I reflecting back on it, not a fan. The Mandalorian was good. Um, it certainly had some moments where it really, kind of surprised me, and I enjoyed it as a TV show. Season one of Boba Fett was all over the place. It was sloppy as hell for me. And it really the redeeming part of Boba Fett, outside of the irredeemable act of it ruining the character of Boba Fett for me, made him very soft, made him just this guy that forgot that he wore a jetpack to get himself out of trouble. Like, there were some real problems with that show, and by the end of it, it was really only redeemable as a couple of episodes that was kind of like The Mandalorian season 3.
Yes.
So, needless to say, as Obi-Wan was about to start, I was skeptical. I wasn't sure what to expect. There were some early leaks which were concerning to me based off of what I heard, and most of those leaks ended up being accurate. So here's my 2 cent take before we get into the finale. The series as a whole, episode 1 was pretty good for me. I was okay. It was slow, but that's all right in a 6 episode, series that could potentially be the length or longer than a film. I was okay with the pacing. Episode 2 started to lose me a little bit, but still okay. I actually enjoyed Reva's character in episode 2 more than I thought that I would. And then her character development after episode 2 for me just fell off a plateau. It went nowhere. And it just seemed unnecessary for me. It seemed like it was just needless subplot when, what were we all here for? We were here for Vader. We were here for Kenobi. We were here for this, I guess, epic battle. If they were going to do it, okay. But anytime you do something in the past that affects canon of something, you got to tiptoe around things very carefully. And I'm not so sure that they were real careful with how it was handled. But that's just my 2 cent take. Let's get into a little bit of how this finale started progressing along. So as the finale started, we're on Tatooine, and we see the bully.
Yeah.
He was the bully from the first episode that took people's hard-earned money, didn't give them their fair share for making Tatooine sushi. Was it sushi, by the way? Do you know?
It was definitely meat, and that thing looked like a giant flying fish.
Like, but was it a water animal?
I really don't know. I would
It,
have
it
to look into that.
like there aren't lakes on Tatooine, are there? Like I thought water was super scarce on Tatooine.
It is. That's why there's moisture
There's
farmers.
moisture farms. So how are you mining giant fish in a planet with no water? Come on, Disney, get it together. But anyway, this is the bully, and he's being a bully again because he doesn't know any other way. He's just a bully, and I love that the bully has a Southern accent. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Is that a jab? Is that a Republican jab, Disney? Anyway, but then we have Reva, who comes into the picture, and she's injured, right? Because Vader did
Yeah.
what? What happened right before this episode started?
Well, before this episode started, like the last one, she, Obi-Wan figured out her true intentions about Reva's motive. And I know you and I, like, we've talked about this show as it's going on off camera, and we, kind of figured, yeah, she was actually going after Vader, and it was revealed that was her true intention. But, she fought him, and it wasn't even a contest. He pretty much controlled that whole fight, but then he stabbed her right in the gut and then left her laying there for dead.
Yes.
And not much time has passed between those episodes, like I don't know, maybe a few hours, maybe a day at the most.
I don't understand. Paul brings up a good question here. He wants to know how she even made it to Tatooine with no ship and being injured. How did she get to Tatooine? Did she?
Yeah, that's a
Because
very good question. I didn't even think about that. Like, how did she even get there?
yeah, because she was on the Inquisitory place, right? Before this happened. I might have lost your feed. We'll give you a second to come back. But we're trying to remember where she
Yeah,
was.
I think
You're
I'm back
back.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember where she was at the beginning of that episode. Like, I want to say that she was I can't remember where she was, but she was definitely on. I think she was on some ship, kind of ship. It would have been either the big Inquisitor ship, we'll call it, or it was Vader's own Star Destroyer, and it may have been Vader's Star Destroyer because of
Yeah.
where how Episode 6 starts out when
I
we.
don't
But yeah,
I don't remember, but I mean the fact is wherever she was, like oh no. They were on that planet where Legu, which is baby Leia, was on that planet where the roof had to open. Right?
yeah,
Wasn't that where it took place?
yes, that's where it took out that hideout, like in the, I guess you could call it a bit of a cave system.
Right, right. Yeah, so Paul says in the previous episode, she left from the Inquisitor's palace on that waterback planet and was joined with Darth Vader to invade the rebellion's planet. Yeah. So they were on that planet
Okay.
where the roof had to open up, and
Yes.
and that again, she's left for dead. They just
Hmm.
were like, hey, I know you just tried to kill us all for whoever was left to give her a ship, which really no one was left because they took off in their ships. So how she got to Tatooine so quick, we don't know. Regardless, she's there. She's injured because she was stabbed for the second time, I should add,
Yes.
and survived. And she
Which
she she takes
which I've
care of the
just
bully.
which
I don't
I've
know if
just
this is
learned with Disney Star Wars. Like, in the Disney Star Wars stuff, like, lightsabers just don't kill people anymore. I mean, she got stabbed twice. Kylo Ren got slashed like across the face. Finn got slashed up the spine, and at the very least, probably should have been paralyzed. So yeah, in
right.
Disney Star Wars, lightsabers do not kill anybody.
Now she's hooded. I don't know why, because if she's trying to hide who she is, she basically pulls the hood back, uses the force. And I mean, everybody's watching. They're like, okay. So she basically messes with the bully. She tells this guy that she needs to find Owen. Why does she need to find Owen? Because she knows that Owen has Luke's son,
I
which
mean,
she
Vader's
saw,
son.
or Vader's son. Sorry, not Luke's son. That would be weird.
That would be weird.
So anyway, she is looking for Owen, and where did Owen end up? He's just sitting in a bar like down the street, but we'll get to that. So as this episode continues, we're on Vader's Star Destroyer. He's chasing this ship, and this ship is so agile that as this thing's moving around, it looks like it's shooting like a Honda Civic in space. It's just whipping around like. But the people inside the ship, maybe this is a science thing. They're barely moving. They're fine, But this thing's like, I get it, science and gravity and lack of gravity, all that. By the way, well, never mind. How do where's the gravity on these ships? Like these transport ships. I guess they've got fake gravity on them. Whatever. I'm making too big of a deal of this. So Legu, which is, and I call her that because I think Disney wanted a baby Yoda or Grogu in Obi-Wan that people would fawn after, and that's baby Leia. So she is known now to me as Legu. But Legu's on the ship, and Obi-Wan is being, like, hey, I know how to I know how to make these attacks stop. He says, we can give you enough distraction if I just, face Vader, basically. And they're all like, no, don't do that. But yet they're dying. They're being chased by a giant Star Destroyer that can't seem to hit them. They must have the stormtroopers' weaponry. But yeah, anyway, so they eventually agree. And Obi-Wan gets off the ship. So Paul says, yeah, to be honest, Silver, you would think that Anakin or Darth Vader and Obi-Wan would learn their lesson about to finish off your opponent. They're going to come back. Yes. Yes.
That's just making me think of episode 3 when Vader finally...
Yeah, we think we lost you again. You'll be back in a second. It's just a little bit spotty connection. There you are.
Here I am. But yeah, episode 3, Vader, he has no problem using the Force to like kill the civvies, even snap the kid's neck. But then he's fighting Obi-Wan, and like I get wanting to make him suffer, but like somehow the stream of fire prevents him from going to grab Obi-Wan. But the thing that actually gets me the most about Vader's suit is isn't it supposed to be a fireproof suit?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Like he can just walk through that, like it doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it's fireproof. He doesn't, and he can put out fire too, but whatever. Yeah. It's fine. So anyway, we cut to Uncle Owen, who's being warned that this woman is coming after your family, and he's got to get out of there. Cut back to the ship, and Obi-Wan's still hemming and hawing, and they're just taking their sweet ass time. They're being chased by a Star Destroyer, and they're having all this dialogue, and we don't want you to go, but I don't know. Let me. Here's the fake Jedi. Well, I actually like this guy.
I did like him as well. He was a good minor, like side character for some comedy relief. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, he kind of redeemed himself. And so anyway, I guess Obi-Wan eventually, 10 minutes later, decides to get off the ship. Back on Tatooine, this is a little bit of a Disney moment for me. You've got Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru here, and Owen's like, we've got to get out of here. And she's like, no, we're going to get some firearms and stand our ground, because I'm a strong female character, and you are an idiot, Uncle Owen. So we are going to stay here and wait for this woman with wizardry force powers. I can't even talk. So we're just going to hang out and wait for her to come get us. And he goes, okay, cool. Because she made that face. And when you make that face, you better say yes, ma'am, and move on quickly. Because she was going to...
One thing I'll say about Beru, like, not so her mannerisms, but like how, what she says, expresses how she feels and stuff. It kind of makes me also feel a little bit of similarity to, like, her little bit of episode 4 when, she was like saying to Uncle Owen, like, Luke's not a farmer. It's like, she's got to, like, she's like confronting him, like, I got to get something through to you.
Yeah, they did the same thing back in the 1970s. So you are exactly right. I guess that's true to the character. Oh, that face right there is even like, I will whip your ass if you don't listen to me. He grabs the gun. He's like, okay. And then he shot her, and that was the end. The credits rolled. I was very shocked that they went that route. No, that didn't happen. So baby Leia, there's Legu. Obi-Wan, what does he do? It's kind of like a hey, take this holster, remember me.
Well, that wasn't to remember him, that was to remember that lady that had been helping him out that died in the last episode. That was, I believe, her holster.
That's right, the lady that we were supposed to care about, who died, that we really didn't know much about. And then the other guy that died, what was his name? We saw him for all of 40 seconds in the entire series. Wade?
Wade, the pilot guy.
His name was Wade. And Wade had 40 seconds of screen time, maybe 30. But when he died, that was supposed to be an emotional powerhouse. Like, they were tearing up and the camera lingered, and it's like, who the hell is Wade? Why do we care that Wade died? Like, why couldn't that have been the lady that sacrificed herself. Like, and how did Wade die? Reva threw a car battery at him. Like, that's what happened. And then we're supposed to care. But anyway, you're right. He gave her the holster. And they're still lingering. By the way, all this time, they're still lingering on this thing being chased by a Star Destroyer. And this scene kind of intrigued me a little bit. So long story short, the Vader ship, they see Obi-Wan's escape ship separate, and Vader's just like, we need to go after Obi-Wan, and the Inquisitor speaks like some common sense to Vader, and to me, and you'll have to, because you kind of told me this the other day, and you can fill in more than I can here. I thought that, like, wow, if you talk back to Vader in front of people, you're going to get killed right there. But he did it, and he got away with it, and Vader didn't care, and he still wanted to chase Obi-Wan. But why is it that Vader took that back talk from the Grand Inquisitor?
So thanks to the Vader comics, like about a month ago, I watched I think Star Wars Theory on his channel. He had read all the comics. It was like a 2-hour video, but it definitely filled in a lot of information of like after, Vader lost to Obi-Wan on Mustafar. And in that series, yes, he does meet the Grand Inquisitor, and he pretty much tells him, you work for me, but he also like mentors the Grand Inquisitor on like how to hunt Jedi. Like, you could almost say like he kind of took the Grand Inquisitor a little under his wing. Like, at one point, I know I had the thought of like the Grand Inquisitor replaced Star Killer from the Force Unleashed video games.
Okay.
So, but the Grand Inquisitor, he reports to Vader about hunting Jedi and stuff. But even though, yes, he's back talking him and stuff, it's still not the Grand Inquisitor's, place to like, well, he really didn't question Vader. It's not his place to question him. Like he said, as you probably said it, he gives him the common sense of like, we could shoot that ship instead,
and get rid of all of those people,
and get rid of everything. But of course, we know that's not what's going to happen because we all know the Star Wars story. So it's not his position to question Vader. I mean, yes, he can say his opinion, but when Vader says like, "No, we're going after Obi-Wan," then the Inquisitor just says, "As you wish, my lord."
Yeah, he's like, "Cool, thanks."
Yeah, like if that's what
alive.
Vader, if that's what Vader wishes, then he'll do it. And plus, the Grand Inquisitor, it's not lost on him as well. Of like, don't piss off Vader. He will not hesitate to kill you. So you might as well just do what he says. Like if he'd rather go after Obi-Wan versus letting the start of the rebellion or whatever you want to call it, the faction of the rebellion, get away, then let him do his thing.
I felt like he should have like maybe whispered like, "All right, but don't get mad at me if your face gets cut and
But
the
I am
mask
gonna.
falls off."
I will comment on this real quick on the Grand Inquisitor showing up. Like, I was very happy with the Grand Inquisitor. The actor that played him, I think, did a great job, and his dialogue and how he presented himself in like the first 2 episodes, and then when he made his comeback to the episode 5 and stuff to reveal, oh hey, he's alive and stuff. He was one of the side characters that was a big highlight for me. It was really nice seeing him, and I feel like they just did him very well.
Right.
And I was also happy that they didn't destroy all of Star Wars Rebels when he was killed.
That's a good thing for sure.
But that was definitely a nice little like psych out to the fans for sure.
All right, so back on Tatooine, it's nighttime, and Reva trips the security system. Back on Vader's ship, he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go after him myself," and so he gets in his little mini pod or whatever. There's his ship. Excuse me, that is Vader's actual ship from the original trilogy. It comes out and it's chasing after Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has Lola with him, which is I forgot why. Maybe that'll come back to me.
I think it was kind of like as a
Good luck
good luck
charm.
charm. Yeah, like a
Okay.
good luck charm. Like there was something between him and Leia where she said something about like Lola like makes I don't know, either makes Leia like feel good knowing she has her close by, and Obi-Wan says something like, "No, well maybe I should borrow her." So it's kind of like a little good luck charm, but it was also just nice to know that hey, he's going into that fight. So it's also a good reminder of like why he is going into this fight, why he is about to confront Vader.
So Vader comes off the ship and he's walking down, and this is a confrontation, and this is the beginning of a fairly long confrontation. And
Oh yeah.
Obi-Wan speaks to Vader, and there's some threatening words back and forth, and lightsabers are dispatched, and the fight begins. And somehow Obi-Wan went from forgetting how to use the Force or suppressing it or whatever he did to godlike powers, like unbelievable, the most powerful I think we've ever seen Obi-Wan on screen, not counting Rebels or cartoons, but in live action, I don't remember seeing an Obi-Wan this powerful.
Well, one thing I've known about Obi-Wan is when he fights, he mastered the form of Soresu, which Soresu is not really known for being an aggressive fighting style. It is a defensive fighting style. So, like, if you watch him, against like Anakin, like him and Anakin, he was on the defense the whole time, but that's because that's what his fighting style was. But the style was also meant for like disarming your opponent as well. So, yes, when they went into this fight, like I was very surprised by how aggressive he was. Like, I know at one point, when they started the fight, he did his like fighting, pose and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But, he immediately switched out of that to this all out aggressive fight as well. And a part of me also thought, well, Obi-Wan was also a great tactician, as a Jedi and during the Clone Wars as well. And, one thing about Vader being in that suit, he's not as mobile as, he was when he was Anakin. So, you know, yes, he is strong, but he is not as quick as he was before the suit.
So they do a very Star Wars like thing. They don't ever just go from start of fight to finish of fight, because you can't leave the camera for 20 minutes of this. I think it would be cool, but that's not how they do it. So what they're cutting back to from here is the scene. It's very dark, but it's Reva basically going after the Skywalkers and going after, ultimately going after Luke. They put up a pretty heck of a fight because, again, Reva's injured, but she has one thing in mind, and it's killing Anakin's son. That's what she is there for. But she's injured, and they pick up on this. And at one point, I believe Owen smacks her in her stomach where she was stabbed. But anyway, that's going on right now. So then we flip back to Vader and Obi-Wan fighting some more, and it's a heck of a fight. Both of them using force powers, both of them pushing each other up against rocks. At one point, Vader's down. Just an awesome fight. Then Vader, this is very reminiscent of Episode 3, in my view,
The
where
high
Vader,
ground. Yep.
yeah, Anakin's got the high ground, and Obi-Wan gets put down into this ditch. And I thought he was going to say, "No, I have the." That would have been cheesy, but I probably would have popped for
Well, somebody will
it.
probably make a meme out of it.
You are defeated. I now have the high ground. So anyway, Vader proceeds to dump like 1,000,000 tons of rocks on top of Obi-Wan. It's very dark screen, but we're looking at this going, surely he's dead, right? Obviously he's not. It's like watching the
Right.
Titanic going, surely the boat's not going to actually sink. Like we know that he's going to survive, but it seems like an impossible situation. He's buried under all this rubble. Flip back to Reva. She's still trying to kidnap young Skywalker. And we keep moving through this. back to Obi-Wan, we find out that he's not dead and he is alive by using godlike power of the Force to keep all of that rubble from crushing him. Like his hand is out and he's using the Force. Did that seem a little overpowered to you? I don't know. That I didn't think he had that kind of power.
I'll say, and I know we're gonna probably get up to it, like, in a little bit here for the next scene I'm thinking of that I thought was a very impressive, like, overpowered Obi-Wan. But like this one right here, like, it seems a little unreasonable, but he still was always a powerful Jedi. And as this series has gone on, we've seen him, like, becoming, a Jedi again. So it might have just been a smidge, like, overpowered for this, but if anything, like, how that fight was going, Vader got the upper hand there and stuff, but obviously, like you said, we knew he was not dead. He's gonna get out from under the rocks and stuff. But I feel like, well, you gotta do something, like, he's kind of losing at this point. He needs to, like, I don't know, he needs, like, that adrenaline rush. He needs to hit that next, like, level to
Well,
just go after Vader.
he
But
definitely leveled up here.
what I also felt as going to his fighting style, it was still very aggressive.
Oh
It was
yeah.
still very aggressive fighting style. So maybe that played into it as well. Like, his emotions were going, and, all of a sudden he gets, like, this big burst of power to free himself.
Well, he definitely burst out of that rubble. He used the Force to push it out, and it was like a mini nuclear bomb. The stuff just started flying out everywhere. Vader's already walking back to his ship because he feels like it was, to quote Vader, too easy. Like it was just done. Like he beats Obi-Wan. So he's walking back to his ship, and somehow Obi-Wan is stealthily, maybe using the Force, to prevent Vader from realizing he's behind him until the very last second. Lightsaber's lit, Vader's ready for it. He turns around, and these two continue to fight. This is where the fight for me got really cool. Like I know I've been knocking this episode most of our talk here, but this drew me in. These two were just going at it, and Obi-Wan. Let me see if I can find this scene. Obi-Wan basically, maybe this will come up a little bit later as I'm scrubbing through this, but Obi-Wan, there's this scene where he's got like 1,000 rocks that rise up from the Force, and they're all just like behind, reminding me of something from Elden Ring, like all these rocks behind him, and they're ready just to start going toward Vader. And it was such a powerful, like, holy shit, like Obi-Wan Kenobi is no joke when it comes to the Force. Like this guy's got some power. And so these two continue to fight. Well, then we keep cutting back to Reva and Luke. And this is where I really, it kind of dawned on me that the storytelling, all in my opinion, but the storytelling here with building Reva's character wasn't working for me because I just didn't care. I didn't care to cut back to her scenes. I was like, let's get back to Vader and Obi-Wan. Like, I don't care about Reva right now.
I actually felt the same way. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't really care for, like, this episode. I really didn't care for, what Reva's got going on. But, you got to do something with her character, with how the last episode ended. But yeah, I just found myself like, can we, like, move this along? Because I want to see, what's about to happen to Obi-Wan and Vader's, like, lightsaber battle. Like, show me that.
Yeah, and to me, her entire role could have been replaced by the Grand Inquisitor. Like having her have a redemption arc makes the story about her. And I just don't think it was appropriate for a short mini series called Obi-Wan Kenobi. It just was to me, a wasted plot point. Obi-Wan should never have left Tatooine. The fact that he did and left Luke unprotected, further salt in the wound for me. And then the fact that Reva has this intention of killing Luke, and then like within seconds redeems herself. The whole thing just, it seemed poorly written to me, and it put the focus away from what could have been something great, and instead had great moments mixed with things that I felt were not great moments.
You know, the other thing that gets me is like, she knows Vader has a son from that, but at this point in time, Vader doesn't know he has a son. Like, he thought his child died when Padme died. So, like, even if she was to succeed in killing Luke, like, I don't think anything would phase Vader on that because it's something he just doesn't even know about. So, okay, say she did kill Luke, then she's going to be like, hey, I just killed your son that you didn't know you had.
Yes, and he'd
Like,
be affected for all of what, 10 minutes, and then the emperor would smack him back to the dark side, and that would be the end of it. He wouldn't care.
yeah, so like her going after Luke and stuff, like maybe we just call that like, it's, obviously she wanted revenge against Vader like this whole series, but maybe it's just like, now she's just desperate. Like she is just desperate to get to Vader, do something to get at him.
So these two, as you can see, are just going at it. And I know the screen is very dark. That's the way that it was. It was
That was
very
another thing. I
dark.
was not big on how like Reva stuff was shot. Like it's so dark. Like I get it's nighttime.
You really had to watch this in the dark, like to be able to see it. I've got a cat climbing all over cables. Hopefully, that's not why you are being cut out
guest
here.
guest appearance right there.
That's right. Live TV, live TV. So anyway, these two are continuing to fight. I don't want to play a lot of this, but he's going after the breathing apparatus, which I thought was really smart. I don't know why
Yes.
every one of Vader's enemies don't
That's
do this
that. I
first.
mean, that's that tactics of Obi-Wan Kenobi for his fighting style. He's very tactical.
Yep. I think here is where things just get very aggressive. And this was the
Mm.
shot. This is the shot where Obi-Wan strikes Vader's helmet with his lightsaber. And I mean, like, and you brought up an awesome point to me earlier today where the Return of the
Oh,
Jedi, Vader
yes.
unmasked, that he has that kind of slice in his head.
Yeah.
And this maybe is where that particular scar came from, which is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
interesting.
I saw something early today that was kind of like, saying it just kind of pointed out like, hey, that scar on Vader's head, it's on the side of his head that, Obi-Wan just hit right there and stuff. And I kind of thought, that would actually be a cool piece of lore right there.
All right. So these two are now, this was one of my two favorite things that happened on this episode. We get to
This,
see Anakin's face, like half of Anakin's scarred face. And they do this bit where they're talking back and forth, and Vader's voice, because the suit's ruined, basically, it's cutting between the voice of James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen, and you're getting both. And what a powerful moment. Like that to me. And one of the most powerful lines is Obi-Wan is apologizing to him, like, I didn't mean to do this to you, and Vader said, well, you listen, punk. Paraphrasing here, he said, you did not kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. And that was pretty powerful because to me, Vader is telling Obi-Wan, like, listen, the person that you knew died, but not because of you. I'm not giving you the credit for this. I did this. I
yeah.
beat you.
I mean, it's like, Vader saying, like you said, like, I killed Anakin. I got rid of my weakness, and now, look at me. So I'm going to take the credit for why I am so strong.
Yes. Now, the part that did sort of take me out of this is Vader has acknowledged that Anakin's dead. And the only
Yes.
person that's left is Vader. and Vader's defeated. He can hardly breathe, and it's a I better get my ass back to the ship quickly because I'm about to choke. I need oxygen. He can't breathe. This guy went on for the next how many years of tyranny in the galaxy and being responsible for deaths and destruction, and this powerful being is laying here before Obi-Wan, who is admitted Anakin's already dead. And when he says there is no Anakin, it's only me, Obi-Wan almost literally says, "All right, Darth, catch you later." And he walked away, like just left him there. Like,
Yeah, that
why? What?
that
You could have saved the galaxy. You know, you could have taken out Vader and then gone straight for Palpatine at this point. But instead, you just left him there to be revived and wreak tyranny upon the galaxy for years and years and years. I
yeah,
just
and
didn't get that.
yeah, I didn't quite get that a whole lot either. I mean, again, we all know that Obi-Wan's not going to kill Vader and stuff, and even with Anakin gone and stuff, it's still not really Obi-Wan's place, I guess, to like destroy the Sith and everything. I
But think
mean,
about this, though. Obi-Wan told Luke Skywalker in the original A New Hope, it is your destiny to kill Vader. Like, or maybe he said it in Empire. He says it at some point. He tells Luke, you must defeat and basically kill Darth Vader. He's telling someone else to do it, but he won't do it himself. Like, that part didn't make a lot of sense to me.
sorry, I got my doggy's trying to get attention.
Gotta give the dog attention.
Yeah, she's gotten plenty of attention this evening.
So that was my big hang up here, is that he seemed to have no problem having Luke kill his father, but he could not do the same thing when given the opportunity to do it in this moment. Now, what would have made more sense, and I heard this from someone else, and I can't remember who, so I'm not trying to take credit, but this was awesome. If they're going to go down, and this, by the way, this is what I consider bad writing. They could have had it to where Obi-Wan says, well, Darth, you know what I have to do. And as he's about to do it, he gets a premonition that Luke's about to die.
Yes.
If that happened and Obi-Wan had not even a second to spare, he had to get out of there. I could have accepted that and gone, you know what? He was going to kill Vader, but Luke is the chosen one to bring balance back to the galaxy, and he's about to die, and I need to leave. I will get you next time, but I've got to go.
I agree with it. Like if they had just made that like one change right there to like, pretty much stop Obi-Wan's blade, and then, make that decision of like, do I finish off Vader or do I go save Luke and then he leaves? I think that would have made a lot more sense versus him just saying, goodbye, Darth, and everything, while he's like on his knees and in front of them, like he can barely stand, he can hardly breathe.
Yes,
Like
he
this,
had.
this will end it all right here. Like, what is stopping you? But at the same time, the only other thing for me, again, regarding Obi-Wan's character is that he really isn't a killer. I mean, even though he cut Darth Maul in half in episode 1, but Maul still survived because of his hatred for Obi-Wan. But no, he was never like one for taking a life.
Well,
So
I
I can at
think that.
least say that about his character. Excuse me
I,
1 second.
yep, I think that he could have redeemed it if he had gotten to a point where he was about to do the deed and he got called away. I also think that the series could have been redeemed if Obi-Wan was the person who ended up stopping Reva. That would have also been interesting. But we'll get to that. So he leaves Vader. I think I lost my Disney stream here.
Which I did love how Vader was yelling out like Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan. Like
Yes.
it definitely made me think of like Darth Maul yelling Kenobi. So I kind of thought that was a fun little thing there.
So as he says, "See ya, Darth," and gets ready to leave, he does have a premonition that Luke is in trouble, and he hightails it out of there. I think something happened here. Let's get back to it. No, we're good. So this is Riva. Sorry.
Yep.
So we Obi-Wan's on his way back because he gets this premonition that Luke is in trouble because he fell on some rocks. And again, this is hard to see, but Riva has a lightsaber, blade lit to an unconscious Luke Skywalker about to cut him down and murder him right there. And as she's about to do this, she pulls the blade back. And now, first of all, this is another bad writing moment for me. Obi-Wan had one job in the galaxy. One job was to protect Luke. And he's not, where is he? Like, he's not here. Luke is the one that's going to bring balance to the Force, and he's left unprotected against an Inquisitor or former Inquisitor with a lit blade about to strike down Skywalker. To me, unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. There was nothing that should have taken Kenobi off this planet. And this scene to me just didn't make any sense. It actually infuriated me a little bit. So she goes to pull the blade back, and she has a vision of herself as the youngling. And she sees Anakin in her flashbacks, and she basically sees herself as Anakin, as Darth Vader, as the person who is now going to be responsible for killing innocent children. And that is what stops her.
Which
Now,
also gets me of like, okay, again, like maybe blinded by revenge and stuff, but she made it clear as day that, she wanted revenge because of what happened to her friends when they were all kids and stuff. Obviously that was a very traumatic event that was weighing so heavily on her and stuff. But, now she's like got herself to the point, where she's about to kill children and everything. Like, I really didn't think she was even going to toy with that idea and stuff. But I guess, if she's going to learn about Luke, like, at the very least, I thought, hey, maybe she's going to kidnap him, and that's what's, going to set up season 2. So it's going to be another rescue mission.
now, if Obi-Wan, who here he is late, by the time he gets on the planet, he's Luke's dead if she had gone all the way through with it. But if they had kind of planned it to where he was there the whole time, or if he got there in time because he had that premonition and left earlier and somehow stopped Riva and the two of them through conversation, through thought, through reflection, through the force of bringing her and seeing, I don't know. There was a way that Obi-Wan could have still saved Luke in this moment, and I think that would have worked for me and still given Riva some redemption if that was important for Disney. But as is, honestly, what this did, by the way, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are the extent of their search for Luke is standing 10 feet outside of their home screaming his name.
Yeah.
Luke!
I didn't even think about that.
Luke! Where is he? For like how long? Since Riva chased him, they won't go past 10 feet of their house. Anyway, so again, the story that they've told is that Obi-Wan failed his mission to protect Luke Skywalker, and the savior, the person responsible for Luke Skywalker living and bringing balance to the Force is Riva. Right? I mean, she's the one. She stopped herself. She brought him back, yes. If she had left him there on those rocks, he could have been killed by sand people. He could have been killed by whatever. But she brought him back. So Riva saves the Star Wars franchise. Come on. A character that has a redemption that lasts all of 10 seconds. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But anyway,
Well, the series as a whole takes place, what, maybe over the course of 1 week? Like a
yes,
redemption in 1 week?
yes, she spent years chopping people's hands off and murdering people and doing bad Inquisitor stuff. And within a few minutes, hey, everything's cool. I've
But
seen
you,
the error in my ways.
but one thing I'll point out about Riva's character, and I noticed this, I think by the second episode, like if you look at all the Inquisitors, Grand Inquisitor, Fifth Brother, Seventh Sister, they all have like the yellow eyes for
Mhm.
like, being, strong in the dark side or like maybe fully embracing the dark side. But if you look at Riva, her eyes never once go yellow. And I noticed that, and that's what made me feel like back at the beginning of the series of like, okay, she's an inquisitor, but she doesn't look like she's going to commit fully to the dark side yet.
But
Or
shouldn't like
like,
the Grand
or the
Inquisitor
very
have
least,
said, we've noticed your eyes aren't yellow. Like what? What? No one cared. Just yeah. Anyway, so they have this redemption moment, and Obi-Wan just gives her a pep talk and says, "Hey, you turning around and put your lightsaber down and go and live your life. Be
but
free."
as well, even like with this moment, just with that scene, you have a Jedi Master talking to basically a Padawan, a youngling, and this to me is like one of those moments of like Obi-Wan just becoming a Jedi again, because the Jedi always showed mercy and such. And plus, you kind of see like, not, of course, he's not going to take her as his apprentice or anything like that, but you kind of see like, the comfort of a master, to is someone that, is not fully trained yet.
I think I would even be okay in a story that Obi-Wan takes her as, as a Padawan and train. Like I would maybe even be okay with that. But as is, think about what she knows. She's the one person in the entire galaxy, other than himself and the Organas, that Luke and Yoda, that Luke and
We
Leia are Anakin's
Yoda's in the
children.
swamp.
Yoda's in the swamp, right, eating Twix bars. But I think that's what Luke had in his toolbox. But like, she knows that Luke is Anakin's son. She knows that Leia is Anakin's daughter. She knows these things. And she has this knowledge. She's lived years and years and years of doing baddie things and has 30 seconds of redemption. And he's like, check you later. See ya. Go be
Well,
free.
I
Like,
also think with some of this stuff, they may be setting up like, a show for Riva,
oh,
or
no doubt.
maybe if they actually do season two, which from what I've heard, it's not been officially confirmed yet. She'll come back, but I don't really know what direction they can really go with her character at this moment. Like, obviously, she's kind of had a bit of like, a redemption here of like, she feel, she was just like, she got scared and stuff of herself and everything, and Obi-Wan gave her the comfort. But, again, it's
Well,
like, but where does she go from here and stuff?
Well, in this moment, we had cool things like the lightsaber duel in Obi-Wan
Yes.
and Vader, but to me, with Reva's redemption and the way that it was handled, it was as if that was really the Reva series. It was really the focus was her as a character, not so much the other characters in this that are named Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. Yes, they were featured in this. Yes, they, were heavily featured, but the redemption wasn't, I mean, what, Obi-Wan found his smile and remembered how to use the Force? I mean, no, the big thing is there was a Padawan who was left for dead, became an Inquisitor just for revenge purposes. And then at the very end, before being able to achieve that revenge, she has her own redemption, and her life is, I mean, think about, like, as I'm saying this out loud, it's her story. This whole series was her story. I don't know. That's just my take on it. Then we get to some cool things. I'm not completely down on this. This scene with the Emperor talking to Vader. Vader was basically just like, I'm going to freaking kill Obi-Wan. And the Emperor was like, that's clouding your judgment and your, I forgot the exact words. Maybe you remember.
There's something like, his feelings for his old master, I think, is what the Emperor said, which
makes you weak.
Yeah, it does make you weak. Which, side note, I was also glad to see that they got I forget his name, but the guy that played Palpatine in the prequel series,
Ian McDiarmid. Yeah.
Yes, Ian. He came back to be Palpatine, so it was nice to see, him
Absolutely.
as Sidious again. So, just like another like minor nostalgia moment. There he is, all clad in black and face full of lightning.
It's funny because, when he played the Emperor in the 80s, 81, 80, 83, 82, when he played that character, he really was kind of a young guy, and he looked like this old ancient Sith. And now they're having to use less makeup. I joke, I'm getting old too. But Ian McDiarmid plays the part to perfection, and this was no different. I felt every bit of those lines.
I did as well. And yeah. But it's also an interesting thing as well, because the Emperor could always tap into people's minds and stuff with the Force. That's how he always feels, like that conflict on Vader. But it's also kind of that sign as well and stuff of like what they talked about, like what Luke talked about in the original trilogy of like, Father, like I know the truth, like you're not gone. It's only a part of you that you have forgotten.
Right. I think you phased out, but you'll be back.
Yep, I'm back again. Yep, Padme even said, there was still good in Anakin. And
yeah, fair point. Fair point. So at this point, the Emperor Palpatine tells Vader that, his feelings for Obi-Wan made him weak, and he basically shrugged it off, and he agreed, and that was the end of that.
But also note that in the scene, Vader knows Obi-Wan's out there, but he has no idea where he went in the galaxy. So, the hunt starts all over again.
Right. But Reva knows. And anyway, this is bad plot points again. So they move on. This is where things really got pretty emotional for me. I grew up in the 70s. I saw A New Hope in theaters when I was 3. And so here's a scene of Leia looking strong, and it's got her holster with her, and she's got her princess attire, and she's going out to meet who she doesn't know who she's going to meet, but she's out there with her adoptive parents, and she thinks maybe it's a cousin. She doesn't know who's coming. And
another cousin to insult.
Another cousin to just another stupid boy. But in this case, ship look, she's very excited. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi. But the funny thing is, she wasn't excited to see Obi-Wan at first, because when he walked off the ship, he held out Lola, the robot, and she ran right past Obi-Wan and straight for that droid. So she was very happy to get her robot back, which she ended up putting in the holster, which I thought was cool. Big emotional scene. Big emotional scene here. Where it really started to get me is his talk with Leia. And the music, they had the John Williams original score playing in the background at this point. and he bends down and he says, "You've gotten these, these specific traits from your mother." He said, when I told you I didn't know your parents, that wasn't really true. And you've got bravery and say, I forgot the exact words, but you've got this
it was
from your
like
mother
passion and something else from your father.
and this from your father. And by the way, he says, if anyone finds out that we know each other, it could be problems for both of us. So you're going to have to play along and pretend like we don't know each other, which was their writing to explain A New Hope when she does the broadcast message and acts like she doesn't know him. But when he hugged her, you could see listen,
You
I've
could
been
see the
ragging.
emotion in his face,
Yes.
like in his eyes and stuff. And it's credit to Ewan McGregor, like as an
Yes.
actor, but it's
Yes.
just also credit to just how much dedication, he put into Obi-Wan Kenobi, like back in the prequels, and to see like scenes like this that he is just doing, like it almost makes you think, it's been what, like 17 years since he last played Obi-Wan Kenobi, like live on television, on film.
Yes. I
It's like he
am.
never lost it.
And coming from the original, coming from the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker was someone that I grew up with that I really admired and looked up to, and I had all the toys, and I just freaking loved Luke Skywalker. And when he came back in the Mandalorian, it didn't really pull. I was excited, but I didn't tear up. It didn't really pull any emotion out of me. I was cool. I was very happy to see it.
See,
This
that's
scene
it.
right here, this did it for me. I'm welling up at this point when I'm watching this.
See,
Uh,
that's interesting right there because what you just said, when Luke appeared in Mandalorian, I teared up about that as well. Or excuse me, I teared up over that scene, because I'm a huge fan of Luke Skywalker. He's always been my favorite character in the Star Wars films and in the Legends books. But, I hated how they did him in the sequel trilogy with like the old hermit that's like, I'm just waiting to die out here and stuff. But,
oh yeah, of course.
Mandalorian, like,
Yeah.
like just seeing him show up and, he basically shows just how powerful a Jedi he had become. Like,
Yes. While you're waiting to come back, they did show Luke in his full form. There you are.
yeah, they did. But this scene and stuff, like as much as I love Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi, like it didn't make me shed any tears, but it definitely just brings like a big smile to my face because like the whole series we've seen like this scared Obi-Wan, but he's like going through each episode, he's becoming more and more of a Jedi. But then here at the end, we get to see the Obi-Wan Kenobi that, we all know from like episodes 1, 2, and 3. So we get to see that Obi-Wan version of Obi-Wan again. He is a powerful Jedi. He is proud to be a Jedi. It's
E-
him again. He's come back to us.
even in Lego's eyes, like I mean, you see it from both. Like it's just this heartfelt moment, and it really did touch me. It really absolutely touched me, and I could not believe that I had freaking tears in my eyes watching Disney Star Wars. She gives him this hug, and the parents are all proud, and and Obi-Wan says, "If you need me for anything else, just call me." So
Yep.
maybe that's what's going to end up being season 2. She goes back to her adoptive parents and lives happily until the planet explodes. Spoilers. Next, we've got Obi-Wan back on Tatooine wearing very familiar robes,
Hmm.
and he's getting ready and dressed up, and he's leaving his cave, and he grabs the toy that he was going to give Luke in the beginning, and he shows up, and there's a toy with this version of Obi-Wan on it, the older Obi-Wan that watches over Luke. I think it's a Hot Toys figure. So it's cool that they put him in the outfit. I'm here for it. Looks good. He has a talk with Owen, and Owen it's being kind of Owen-ish to him, not super friendly. And Obi-Wan's just like, look, you didn't need me to protect Luke. Luke has a protector, and it's you. You're his father now, basically, is what he was telling him. And it was kind of a cool scene. And then he's about to walk away, and then Owen kind of calls him back in, and he goes, so do you want to meet the boy? He bought the toy with him. And then here come my freaking tears again. And I'm like, oh my goodness, he's about to go meet Luke for the first time. And this is hilarious to me. That was the first thing he goes, hello there.
Hello there.
Yeah, it
That
is
classic
yeah.
Kenobi quote right there. Hello there.
And he gives Luke the toy, and I mean, just tears are freaking running down my face. I just something about just the leaving things in a state to where we see them, in the future, or my past, is very emotional for me for some reason. But I really like this scene quite a bit. And then Obi-Wan goes off on his space camel.
Space camel.
And then this scene it was cool, but I think this one got to you in the way the others got to me. Is Obi-Wan's just sort of about to go right off into the sunset, which appears to be the exact location of some of the pod racing, those thin canyons.
Yeah, it does
Um,
kind of look like that. But yes.
there he is. He's riding up on the space camel, and the full-bodied Force ghost apparition of Qui-Gon Jinn appears. He's been
Liam
trying to
Neeson
talk to
himself.
Qui-Gon the entire time since Qui-Gon's death. He's been trying to talk to Qui-Gon, and there's been no answer until now. There he
we
is,
go.
looking very Qui-Gon-y. Looks like he hasn't aged. He does look like he has a glued-on beard.
He definitely looked like he had a good glued-on beard, and
WWE watchers,
I also like the angle of this of this camera angle, because if you look at his hair, how lopsided it is in terms of length,
yeah,
it's like that's definitely not a wig.
yeah. For the WWE watchers, this is Elias's older brother Ezekiel, or younger brother. Anyway,
But yes,
pace.
you are right. Even though and I know you and I have talked off camera and stuff, I ain't gonna say I predicted it. I think it was kind of pretty obvious, but throughout the series, the season, he was talking to Qui-Gon, but he couldn't see or hear Qui-Gon because he was so out of touch with the Force. But so it was no surprise that this was going to end with Qui-Gon showing.
Yep, I think that Qui-Gon showing up really put a button on the series, and basically, what was the word he said? He said, Obi-Wan said, "I've been trying to reach out to you," and he's like,
Well,
"Well, you."
he said, I've always been here.
Yeah.
You just haven't, you pretty much just haven't been looking or listening
Right.
for me. And what also kind of got me with this scene with the Star Wars canon is, yes, Qui-Gon became one with the Force, but what kind of got me a little for a moment was he never finished the training of this ghost apparition, so he could not do this before he died. This physical form, we see him he's come back to life. He could only communicate. So I know something about that was okay, as far as canon goes, it's okay, that's a little odd, but you know what, this is probably one of the very rare times I can look past.
Gets a pass.
It gets a pass because just seeing Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon Jinn right there, it's you know what, I'll give this a pass because this is just worth getting to see him again and feel that nostalgia that he brought when he played Qui-Gon Jinn in Episode 1.
Now, maybe they could have done it to where we saw Qui-Gon as the viewer, but Obi-Wan didn't. And then the dialogue still kind of occurs and says, well, you might not be able to see me, but I've always been here with you. And I don't know. There may have been another way to do it, but as is, I agree with you. It's cool to see him back. And the gist is, as they walk off into the twin sunsets with an S, that these two are like, Obi-Wan will continue his training. I know he's a Jedi Master already, but there's a lot for him to learn from Qui-Gon, who has used the Force to come back, and that will be a skill that Obi-Wan will need in order to help Luke fulfill the prophecy of bringing balance back to the Force.
Yep, agreed.
All right, so I think that is it, and the show ends at this point. Again, we've talked it out fully. I think, to recap, I had a lot of problems with this episode and the series as a whole, but the points that it hit, especially on this episode, it really hit. And I walked away from it going, okay, could have been great, like so great, but as is, maybe Disney learns something from this, and if they go through for a season 2, that they do it in a different way that treats this with the impact that it deserves, because it's Obi-Wan freaking Kenobi. So
Yeah, I mean, for me as a whole, like, I liked this series a lot. Like, I liked how Obi-Wan was like, he's living in fear. That one Jedi episode 1, came up to me and goes, "You want to know what to do? Take this into the desert, bury it, and go hide and live your life. Like, the Jedi are gone," and blah 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 blah. But he, so he kind of goes from that. He's so afraid and stuff because of his failure on Anakin and stuff. But to see him kind of go from that, but seeing him, like, each episode, he's becoming more and more the Jedi he used to be. So,
right.
I was like, I'm a fan of that and stuff. Like, I'm a fan of the, kind of, I guess you could say, the emotional trauma of, basically, for 10 years, he thought he killed Anakin because the last he saw of Anakin, he had no legs, was missing his other arm, and he was on fire, burning alive, and screams at them. And he just left him. But he had to confront his past and stuff. And you could kind of almost say, he went through the same trial that Luke went through. Like, Obi-Wan had to face Vader for, his failures and stuff. Luke had to face Vader because that was his father.
Right.
So I guess you could say it's like Obi-Wan got tested all over again, like how he faced Maul when Maul killed Qui-Gon. Now he has to face,
that does make sense.
Now he has to face,
You're coming back. I feel it. Here it comes. There you are.
We'll have to figure that out for next time.
For sure.
But so I'm a fan of that and stuff. I'll always be a fan of whenever Darth Vader gets screen time. I think that's just a given for his character.
Yeah, and especially with that voice.
Yeah. And, Hayden Christensen, playing Vader. But, even in the scenes where we saw him as Anakin with, like, Order 66 or that lightsaber training duel he and Obi-Wan had, it was good to see him as Anakin again. Like, I know he got a lot of, like, I don't know, I guess bad publicity and stuff from fans, like, back during the time of the prequels. But, here we are years later, and, it's nice to see him getting some love and everything of, like, he's coming back to play as Anakin. And
right. No doubt.
And tons of other characters that all came back to be their characters. And as far as, like, new characters went, like, I pretty much liked everybody that was casted for the Inquisitors, like the fifth brother, the Grand Inquisitor. Like, I liked all of them. Reva, like, I guess you could say it's a bit of a love-hate relationship with Reva. Like, no, not bashing on the actress whatsoever. It's tough to take on, a completely brand new character, especially in a universe as big as Star Wars. Because, like, the first 2 episodes, I wasn't that big of a fan. of her with like, her dialogue, her actions. Like, I'm still not over the second episode with the horrible like parkour high wire maneuvers across the rooftops and like,
Yeah, yeah.
but kind of like after those first two episodes, yeah, she kind of took a bit of a backseat to Vader and stuff. But I actually started liking her character a little bit more when she, like kind of when the focus was taken off of her to put it more on Obi-Wan and Vader. So I started liking her like in episodes 3, 4, and 5 with what she was doing and such. But yeah, this last episode to kind of like, wrap up her story for this season. I don't know. It felt very, very rushed and stuff. And I kind of, but they also didn't set this up on any cliffhanger for a season two. Like, practically the only cliffhanger we've got is, well, what's Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon going to do? Well, we know what Obi-Wan's eventually going to do. He's going to have a hut in the desert and is pretty much going to be getting ready for when the time comes and everything for, him to train Luke.
Well, Disney's going to do whatever they think they can make money doing. And so, depending on how well this series actually did, will determine the fate of season 2. I know Ewan said he wants to do it.
Hayden
So,
said that as well, but
yep.
I don't
I'd
know.
almost rather them leave it, but, they're going to do what they're going to do.
If they leave it, I can be fine with that as well. I mean, especially like, we know what's coming up in the future. So, but I mean, there's still stories on Tatooine from the books that they can, could tell of Obi-Wan. But one thing with Disney Star Wars is they seem to want to do all their own original stuff. But I mean, we had like Easter, I guess you could call them Easter eggs or stuff throughout the series. Like, we had the little Easter egg in episode 3 of Quinlan Voss, surviving Order
Yeah, I'm
66.
surprised that they didn't
And
show
I,
that
I
in
mean, I would
some.
love for Quinlan Voss to make an appearance. But even if they don't do anything with this season, like I think they have set it up to like have a couple of series, like Riva might get her the show. They could probably do something maybe with Leia or Luke getting their series, like maybe called the Skywalker Kids Saga or something. It
Yeah, I
shows
don't
them
know
growing
about
up.
that one.
But something I've actually been seeing some discussion going on about a lot more here recently is people saying like, now we need to get like a Darth Vader spinoff with Hayden Christensen, still playing Vader. And I would be heavily in favor of that if we're about to start giving Vader his own TV show.
Well, I think revisiting Luke is a mistake because Luke is a boring farm boy by design. Like he should have the absolute most mundane of lives until this fantasy falls before him. So I think revisiting Luke is a mistake. Leia, I think they could revisit, and I maybe be okay with that. Um,
I think I'd be
Vader,
okay with that as well because of how involved she was as a senator, but also as a rebel. So
yeah,
you could definitely make.
I think that Vader as a series could work. I'm always down for seeing more Vader. I think that the continuing adventures of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon could work, especially with Obi-Wan. Basically, it was written in a way, in my opinion, to where Obi-Wan tells Owen, I'm not the guy, you are. You don't need me anymore. So I'm going to go live off in the desert and you take care of your son. Therefore, Obi-Wan can freely leave the planet and go on further adventures. And I think that that's probably why they put that dialogue in there, was just in case they wanted to do something more with the series. They have that thing where the fans can't go, oh my gosh, he's leaving Luke again. Well, no, he's not watching Luke anymore. That's Owen's job.
Yeah,
So anyway,
but yeah, they've definitely done some good things as well, like to just do nothing with it because they've tied in episode 4, nicely. Like, Obi-Wan, aka Ben and Luke, now know each other. So now Luke knows he's going to be an old man that lives across the Dune Sea.
right?
Leia knows who Obi-Wan Kenobi is, and the ties that her family has with him and stuff. So they definitely did some good things to you know, really tie it up to episode 4 with, character relationships.
Right, right. Yeah, and as far as Riva's concerned, again, I just think that it wasn't needed for this series. I would have preferred they had left her out of this and maybe done a separate Inquisitor series and tell her story. That would have been awesome. And I think that she can act and could have done a good job in that role. But as is, I think focusing the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi on her past, present, and future, and a redemption arc in someone that's not named one of the main characters of the show, kind of a miss on my view, but we'll see where they take it. Now, coming up next is Andor, which I
Yes.
was definitely not excited about, but two things going for it. Number one, the trailer looked good to me.
Hmm.
Number two, I've heard rumor, this is unconfirmed, but rumor that George Lucas himself has helped write some of the episodes for Andor. Have you heard this?
I have not heard that, but I know, or at least I haven't read anything, but I have been seeing George's name pop up a little bit more here recently. So
Yeah,
he's getting some kind of spotlight attention right now. I at least knew that.
he supposedly, and this was leaked on one of the production sites that, and again, it could be fake, grain of salt, but if he's involved and it's Favreau Filoni, which I don't know if it is, I think it is, we could have something special out of nothing. Like, what could possibly the anticipation be for a show called Andor? Really,
You know, yeah.
zero.
Well, this thought actually just now crossed my mind from, we were watching when I watched the trailer, and then, thanks to Star Wars Theory breaking down the trailer, we did see that hooded figure, and, there was, some fun speculation of like, maybe that's Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order. But what if on the off chance that could actually end up being maybe Riva?
Oh, I hadn't thought
Yeah.
about that.
I
Okay.
just now thought about that. I mean, and
But now what's the timeline here? This is in the future from
well,
where we
this is
currently are.
so Kenobi is, you know, the events of Kenobi is going to be 9 years before Episode 4. So
And Andor is how many years before Rogue One?
that's a very good question. But I just remember that hooded figure, like it was a dark hood as well, and we saw Riva wearing, like
That's true.
dark
Yeah,
dark
that is
hood and
true.
stuff like that. So what if she could cross over into
I
Andor?
I don't see why not. They can age her just a little bit, and
Because if they do something else with her, she's not done with her redemption. She's gonna want to do something good,
yes,
and at this current time period, like what says good better than trying to take down the Empire as part of the Rebel Alliance.
yeah, that is true.
Which even in Kenobi, like we're still not 100% been told like the Rebel Alliance is a faction. Like those people that they met and stuff, they're kind of more smugglers and stuff to like get people taken care of, especially Jedi. Like put
It
them.
seemed to be the very early underpinnings of the rebellion, potentially. But I know that, the story of Andor is also going to be focused on the rebellion. So,
So I kind of wondered if Andor is going to be like this is going to be the birth of the rebellion. This is where
right.
the rebellion will start.
Yes.
And now it kind of makes me even wonder even more if Riva could be in Andor. I mean, there's obviously, they don't want to show us who's under the hood and stuff because they want to give us things to talk about. But,
Sure. The surprise.
yeah, but there's a thought.
More to come. Well, I think
Yes.
that's going to be about it. We've gone almost an hour and a half. Silver, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. It's been fun talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, NWG, and it's actually good to come back to the No Week Geek to talk Star Wars with you. It's been a while since we did this.
It has, and we'll have to do it again a lot sooner. We may find some other interesting, geeky things to talk about in the near future. So stay tuned. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming on board, and we will post this if anyone has joined these things midstream. We will post this on the channel, and you can check it out at any time. As always, I'm interested in your feedback. So if you watched Kenobi and have feelings one way or the other, put it down in the comments. Let us know what you thought about the series, what you thought about Reva, what you thought about the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan, the scenes at the end, Qui-Gon coming back. I'd love to know it all. And that'll do it. So thanks again so much. I appreciate it, and we will check you guys out again in the future. See ya.
This vehicle is leaving the station. Please hold on. Please move to the center of the vehicle and away from the doors.